Hi everyone, my name is Eric. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this video. This video is going to be a bit different to the others, but I do feel compelled to make it. As the title says, it's about Taylor Swift. Taylor is an extremely accomplished, successful, and all-round excellent musician. She writes captivating and engaging lyrics for simple and accessible melodies over familiar chord progressions, and her hallmark is extremely catchy, radio-friendly choruses that keep listeners hooked for more and more. She is an experienced performer, has a likable public image, and is a veteran of the music industry, having been releasing and performing for over 20 years after signing her first record deal at the age of 14. She's an incredibly powerful and influential individual. She's also a billionaire and had made most of that money from her work in music. But this video isn't about her achievements and accomplishments, however big a fan of hers I am. It's about her decision to re-record and re-release her old albums after a dispute with her former record label sometime in late 2019 or early 2020. Now, from what I know, she was trying to buy the masters of her back catalog from her former record label, but negotiations failed, and instead, Scooter Braun bought them. As a result, she rightfully became infuriated and was driven to re-record her back catalog so she can own the masters to those re-recorded songs. Now, of course, I understand that if someone wants to own the master rights to a song that they wrote, but the already recorded and released song's master rights are owned by somebody else, then the options are to either acquire or buy those rights from the rights holder or create a brand new recording of that song yourself and ensure that you own that new recording. The real question is though, if you were Taylor Swift, why really would you take that big step? I don't think it's as simple as it seems. Let's talk about the pros and cons. The pros are quite obvious. First and foremost, under her new record label contract, she owns those re-recordings of her old songs. It follows that she would gain most, if not all, of the income from sales, streams, and digital downloads. However, I can't imagine money being the primary motivator for her. Secondly, it significantly devalues the rights of her back catalog that had been bought by Braun, whether she intended to do that or not. But I also can't imagine her acting out of vengeance either. Thirdly, and maybe most importantly, her ownership of the master rights of her songs is symbolic to her. This may be the main motivating force in her decision to re-record her old songs, and it's the only reason that makes sense to me. The cons, on the other hand, are much more nuanced and subjective. Firstly, the resources used must be considered. Although I have no doubt that Swift has the money to re-record 6 albums, I can't imagine she has a lot of free time to spare. To commit to re-recording 6 albums is a big thing, and perhaps it would be a better use of her time making new music. Secondly, the decision has creative and artistic implications. If you release a song to the public, and if you have as much reach as somebody like Taylor Swift, then that version of the song is definitive. It's the official version that contains your musical thesis for that song. Unless you want to re-record an alternative version of a song, for example, an acoustic version of a synth pop song, then there shouldn't be any reason to create a new but not significantly different version of a previously released song. It serves no artistic, creative, or musical purpose. And worse still, it dilutes your artistic output and creative statement. This, to me, is the biggest reason not to re-record and re-release old songs. I think that it should only be done if it has a distinctly different artistic, creative, or musical purpose. For Swift, if it is only just so she can own the masters to one of the versions of her old songs, I wouldn't think it's worth it. Now, the music industry is built on talentless people with money making more money off of talented people, often with no money. Record labels have always owned the majority of their artists' masters. That's primarily how they make their money. Whether I agree with it or not, it's just how it is. Swift was a part of that machine for a very long time. She signed her first record deal at the age of 14. The industry made her who she is now. They enabled her success. For her to be using her power and influence to change how the industry has been for decades doesn't make much sense to me. Because if all the signed artists own their masters in full, how would record label companies make any money? It's one thing to be a fiercely independent artist. It's another thing entirely to be a signed artist, but to disrupt the way things are. It's kind of akin to biting the hand that feeds you. People have said that the changes she's forcing big record label companies to make will eventually tip the balance of power in favor of the artists. I don't see how that's the case though. If her method is simply to influence record labels to allow artists to keep all or most of their master rights and resultantly all or most of the royalties from those masters, I don't see that as sustainable. The labels will eventually go out of business, and then what? So at the end of the day, it's still not entirely clear why she chose to re-record and re-release her back catalog. I don't think it's as simple as just wanting to own her own masters. Also, because of how powerful and influential she is, her actions do have implications on the rest of the industry. Is it for the better? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again in the next video. Cheers.